know, they're throwing out numbers in the hundreds of billions of dollars for the drug war there, and that's just costing the taxpayers. That's not what the drugs cost.
That's the
so
enforcement, and we've got 1 in every 31 Americans in prison, on parole, or on probation, and almost 3/4 of those people are in there on drug charges, marijuana charges, or victimless crime. I mean, basically, these are victimless crimes. If you want to kill yourself with pills, if you want to kill yourself with heroin, knock yourself out, man. It just that'll help the population. But why should we, the taxpayer, have to pay $50,000 a year to pay for the police officers and the guards? And we're not, the prisons are private corporations, and they're making money off of judge throwing you in jail, and not to mention the judges.
You're hitting a lot of nails here. You're hitting a lot of nails, Clay. But every time you say something, you're talking big money, big money, big money, big
Yes.
money.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. It's all big money.
And if you maintain that people of Jewish persuasion control that money, then you're an anti-Semite. If you mention that Jews started communism, you're an anti-Semite.
Because it's not just Jews that control
No,
all
it's
the
not.
money.
It's
There's
not.
a lot of people that control a lot of money.
That's
Jews
right.
are brilliant at getting to the top of the heap.
Yes, they are.
And they have to be that because of survival, because of hatred against them. And they they're the most wonderful people. But when you get a guy on your show like we were talking about, Mr. Rubin, and you start to pin them down on Instagram and stuff, they freak out. They lose their critical thinking and they get all wacky. And that's, everybody does at a certain extent when they get attacked. So, I'm not saying that there isn't problems with the Mossad or with the Jewish, kind of influence in society. There is, but we can't be construing things in a racist way, against Jews or against hippies or against blacks or against bikers or against patriots. We have to just take individual situations and talk about them as white papers, and otherwise people will attack us as being racist. And we all have little voices of racism. We can't be perfect. Jesus wasn't perfect, in my opinion. We can look in the Bible and look at a few things where they say, like Mr. Rubin was saying, Jesus was never violent. The Jews aren't violent. That's not true at all. The Jews are violent. Look at, they going into the Holy Land. They go and kill them. That's violence. Okay. Oh, well, God told them to. Oh, isn't that convenient? All right, here's Jesus, where his violence is, all right? Verbally. He says, don't say anything bad about anybody, don't let your lips say anything bad. And then 2 sentences later, he's calling the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he's calling them vipers and hypocrites. 2 sentences later. There's no critical thinking there. That's the writers of the Bible. They don't know about critical thinking, I guess, back then. Here's another example of Jesus, okay? He takes of cords, which is hemp at that time, the Holy of Holies. They would go and seclude themselves and put the cannabis oil on the brazier, and when the smoke came up and breathed it in, I guess, the shamans, that's talking to God for the Jews. Now, they're taking the rope made from the hemp, and he goes into the temple, and he sees these guys money changing, defiling the temple. He whips those sons of guns out of the temple. That's not violence. You could say, well, that's like you're the father tattling, you're spanking your daughter out of love. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's still violence. So you gotta be honest in these things. Nobody's honest. They say our side is all pure, but their side is all dirty. Look at the Muslims, they're all to the hate, but look at me, we're all love. Come on, give me a break.
Okay, I want to touch on this just a little bit more. My guest yesterday spent 1 hour, 50 minutes telling me
It
how
was a good
terrible,
interview. It
how,
was a good interview.
how terrible the Muslims were, what the danger were, and I agree to that to some extent. Now, people have said to me, Clay, why do you hate the Jews? I don't hate Jews. I admire them because if us white folks, if us Christians had it that together, we'd own the Federal Reserve, we'd own the Bank of England, we'd own the International Monetary Fund, and we'd have.
Maybe we do, Clay. I don't know that we don't.
Maybe we do. Maybe
You know?
we don't. We don't. We don't know who's.
So
But we.
that's the thing. What we have to fight against is evil, and the one thing we know isn't evil is THC, and they're saying that's the most evil thing in the world is THC and this cannabis plant. Even the plants that don't have THC that grow in the same family, which we call industrial hemp, they still have minute amounts of THC that could be extracted out. So the DEA is correct. If we take a whole field of hemp and I'd use an extraction process, professionally, I can get THC and get high from it, and they're right about that. But actually the CBDs that are in that hemp, well, that helps with curing cancer too. And by the way, the government owns those patents. And those patents are controlled by the U.S. government. Oh, they just happened to bury those patents when they found them in the 70s. For 40 years, they've been letting people die that could be being cured from cancer because they want pharmaceutical companies to make money. This is a big problem. I don't want to say anymore. I've talked too much tonight in a negative, aggressive fashion. The American government is doing things against God, against what is correct, against logic, against ethics, against everything that's decent and right about this world. And if they don't get right on this hemp thing, starting with hemp, that country is going down. It's just going to go down. And it's going down fast anyway. We know it. And it doesn't matter if it's Obama or anybody going to help them. Well, this next president, if it's Gary Johnson, the governor of New Mexico, and he's going to get in there and legalize hemp and cannabis right away, and then he really understands. So
I had Gary Johnson on my show, and I would back him for president in a heartbeat. I've shaken hands with him. I've ridden with him. I've escorted him. Me on my Harley, him on his bicycle. Down in New Mexico. He's been in my house in New Mexico.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite a Harley, but it was a motorcycle. It wasn't my e-moto. My electric moto that I plug into the 220 here works wonderful for me.
Yeah, that's hardly a Harley, huh?
Yeah, no, that's not quite a Harley. Yeah. No, we don't have the same infections.
Now, Gary is planning on a political career, and he would certainly make a wonderful guest. Maybe even Normal would get behind him. But
they are 100% behind him, yes, and he is running, and there's no question about it. But the way, because of you can't say you're running, where you're raising money to talk on an educational theme. He's going everywhere. He's appearing on everybody's show. He's definitely going to run. I don't know what his chances are.
Well, it's a media. That's a media
like
again.
All the energy's going to Palin. And Palin's been educated on cannabis, and I think Palin is going to be more receptive. Like, let's say Palin ran against Obama. Palin might come out for legalizing marijuana or making sure medical goes everywhere in the country. And Obama will still be saying that he's protecting medical, but Michelle Leonhardt, who was, being confirmed this week, and Normal's writing articles saying she's bragging how she's going to bust everybody from medical in the whole country. And she's Obama's person. But she's from Bush. She's Bush 2 and Bush 1. And here she's saying the same thing for Bush under Obama, and he promised us medical, but he's not going to give it. So it's just, I've been writing about this. See, you vote for change, and then you don't get any change. Then you vote for change again, then you don't get any change. Then you vote for change, and there is no change. And so then you vote for change, and you don't get any change. That's America.
Okay. The
I mean, does that sound right to you?
yeah, except
Does
for
that sound
the problem I have with Palin is that she advocated war with Iran. Why would we vote for her if she's going to take us into
I'm not
third?
saying